And thanks a lot for being a patient audience. So we'd like to wrap this up a little bit quicker now because we are closing, bit to the time. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I just, I was forced to be here. I was not supposed to be the moderator. Someone else would be the moderator. So when somebody is absent, I'm the ready-made feeler. And talking to Tulsi ji and Daya ji has become a kind of habit for last 2 days. We are talking, and the new edition is our new friend. So let's start with him, Mr. Samir. Na? Yeah, Mr. Samir. Uh, let's talk about South Asian literature. We have been talking about South Asian literature and language, literature, culture, folklore. How do you see actually? In the beginning, for last 2 days, we were discussing that do we really have a South Asian identity in our cultural arena, or we are uh, uh, too complicated or too limited to our own identities as Udiya, Bengali, Nepali, Sinhalese, or there is a uh, point or there is a space where we can interact with each other, exchange with ideas, creative inputs. How do you see that?
Well, thank you so much. At the outset, I'd like to start by saying that, the views expressed in this program belongs to me personally and does not reflect the views of the organization that I work for. And I'd also like to thank the organizers for this wonderful opportunity. Um, I think there's a lot of space wherein we can term the literature that come from different countries in South Asia as a South Asian literature, because the sources that the literature are being derived from, if we look into the past, are of some of the sources that could be related to the Vedic sources, that could be related to the Upanishadic sources, some of the sources that could be related to the Charvaks, the tradition that we have undergone, Vedantic ones, Mimamsa, Bhakta Darshans. All these sources were cited even in Nepal, even in India, in some other parts of the other countries as well. So that is where the similarities can be drawn, I guess. And simultaneously, these countries, as we entered into the Westphalian notion of nation states and as the lines were drawn among the states, simultaneously, they wanted to emerge as a different nation state with a distinct identity as well. And that's where they start coming up with their own literature that were more guided by their local, identities, local language, local cultures. So that's where the entire region has gone simultaneously to merge as a South Asian at the one point, and simultaneously coming up with their own independent and specific identities as well. That's what I think. Thanks.
Thank you. For last 2 days, actually, we pointed out two, three things. One is the connecting point between India and Sri Lanka and connecting point between India and Nepal. One is Ramayana and Mahabharata. The other one is the Buddhist heritage and Buddhist ideas. And in terms of Odisha and Nepal, there is a connecting point that is called the cult of Jagannath. So beyond that, what are other sphere, what are other uh, area where actually we are yet to explore the connections to Dayaji?
Yeah. So the concept of South Asia, I think, was there until the Europeans invaded us. And the concept of nation was created, which broke us up into different countries. Before that, I think the entire South Asia region, people would have
Just
considered it
excuse me,
as,
just 1 minute. Can I think there is a sound problem. Actually, it's not audible here. Actually,
yeah.
volunteers. Is there anyone, please? Because, what he
Hello.
is saying, we are unable to hear actually in this side.
Okay, can you change the mic and see? Yeah. Hello. So South Asia, when we talk of South Asia now, we have lost the united concept we had with the new concept of nation. For example, now I don't think in any South Asian language there is a word for equivalent for nation. We don't have a word. So it was forced down on us. And it broke us up into different units, different countries. Before that, I think whether it is Sri Lanka or whether it is India, now for example, if we take Rabindranath as a poet, as the Mahakavi, is he a Bangladeshi or is he an Indian or is he a Bengali or is he a South Asian? So now we are trying to, now people try to get them to belong to some country, but why should it be? We are all one people, and it has always been that, and we have created the space. The SAC has been created. SAC can unite all our countries into one organization, but they have failed. They have failed because it is also controlled by politicians. Because SAC is under the Ministries of Foreign Affairs. So, though even the SAC Cultural Center comes under the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So that is why it has failed. Otherwise, that's a very good platform where we can, all South Asian literature can be brought together. And now in some Indian universities, SAC literature is a subject. But what are the SAC literature they are studying? Is it only the Indian literature, or they may be having a few from Bangladesh? I don't know whether they have any books from Sri Lanka. And to my knowledge, the only writers they know is Ondachi and Selladore. And from last year, this Shehan Karunakar. Other than that, they are not aware. So SAC literature, though the subject is there, so we can create, we can develop it so that if it becomes popular, then the students will be learning all the SAC literature of all the countries. And that will be the first step for them to do translations into the other countries so that we can share it with all of them. So that is why I think this initiative is what we need. South Asian literature should be one literature. That was dream of Rabindranath, Vishwa Sahitya. He wanted the world to know all the literature, all the good literature around the world. So let's try to achieve that.
Yeah, when you are talking about SARC, SARC as an entity is almost defunct for last few years. And there are many geopolitical reasons, and I don't want to go into those diplomatic and political compulsions. But before going to Tulsi Devasji, I just want to, I remember one thing. Something came to my memory. Uh, I think it was SARC summit in 1990 when Chandrasekhar was the Prime Minister of India, and there was this SARC summit where Chandrasekhar ji gave a speech in his fluent Hindi and Hindustani, you can say that. So I think the Prime Minister of Nepal at that time asked, did you follow what the Prime Minister of India say? And that was a point of discussion. I can just imagine, the linguistic variety, linguistic variations of the region can also be a treasure, can also be resources to create a solid unity within that diversity. So when we are talking about SARC literature is still uh, in theory. In practice, we are not translating each other. Even there is nothing called Indian literature. We are always still, we are living in a system where dominating language is considered to be the Indian uh, literature, be it English or be it Hindi. We do not know what is happening in, suppose Nepali, it's spoken, written in India and also in Nepal. Tamil, it's written in India, so also in Sri Lanka. So, and there are many languages. Pakistan has the same, we share the same language, same cultural, uh, we have the same cultural elements in many, even linguistic elements, folklores. So, Tulsi ji, now it is your turn to speak that how you look at SARC. We writers cannot revive SARC. We are going to talk about SARC, or if we are going to talk about the reality of SARC, then this is basically a political question, and we are unable to answer that. As a writer, how do you see the future of SARC?
I think it's better to talk in terms of the literary, cultural, linguistic concept of SARC. Don't emphasize on the political, geopolitical kind of things here. Though, when we really say SARC, it really comes with somewhere underlying, not prominently. But I think we don't have to go the real meaning or how we make it really the term define, and then we conceptualize and use it. That's the best way of really solving the problem, what we are facing in different areas of SARC. Now, as we all are with language or linguistic expression, or even painting, lot of things, or we even sometimes say city, village, this and that, all they comes under literature, know that. Let that be. So we have to be clear about, and these are the functional terms, to be very frank with you. SARC is a functional term. So better you go and let us conceptualize in terms of how it is practicing, they are leading and going ahead. Even in the absence of SARC concept or the institution, people of the SARC countries, they were one way and other creating, exchanging, they used to come in contact with, exchange their kind of views and ideas.
But again, when you are talking about exchange, okay, it's possible to have an exchange with Nepal and India, but the geopolitical compulsions that India and Pakistan becoming so bitterly rival to each other, that how it is possible to isolate one nation within the SARC and to think about the unity of SARC?
I think you better ask this question to the politician or those who are in the chair of SAR. You know, this is not for us. We don't see that kind of, we read what they write. They read what we write. Yes, there are some kind of tension in between India and then, Pakistan. But that won't be there in due course of time. Literature or might help a lot to bring people in close contact with and help them to understand each other standing, their location, their place, culture. That's the best way of doing. So in the area of culture, in, in the area of literature, or the area of creation, what we have with us, community creation, individual creation, because in our part of the world, most of the folklores are one way and other, those started by an individual but accepted as a community creation, community composition, and named after the place, named after the people, named after the language. It's not the first name. Name is given afterwards. So even this SARC concept is afterwards. How we make use of it, how we use, and what we really mean with that is more important. In the area of culture and literature, we don't have to bother about all those kind of political, borders or political kind of, a kind of each other's disappointment or complaints and things like that. Still, I feel that literature would bring people more closer because they provide that not only the platform, the whole horizons and the place to them so that they can communicate each other and establish human kind of relationship. In other words, different forms of literature or different forms of even culture, one way or other, directly related to the identity of the people or the identity of the place, no doubt. But we have to better help encourage the positive aspect of culture, positive aspect of literature, even of language, of human, that's the best way of doing so that I think we really understand creative aspect of not only the creative aspect of people, but through the creative endeavor, we do understand the other culture and give space to other culture too. Don't try to make a prisoner all the time of your culture, because we are now cultural people in one nation, even in India. Though you say India, but look how many languages, how many different cultures, but still they are together there with. Likewise, we have also in Nepal, as I told you earlier, more than 130 and 35 different languages and people, ethnic groups live in the different altitude of one mountain. If you start your journey from the bottom of the hill and go to the top of the hill with the change of the altitude, there is a change of vegetation, languages, their way of life, and the way they live on in one mountain. So there are different ways of understanding and developing different concepts so that we can help our common people to understand first themselves and through their eyes again to understand other neighbors' cultures and people. That's the best way of doing. That's the best use of, I think, creative literature, what we have in the name of South Asian literature and culture.
Yeah, what actually, I just want to conclude with that very famous line of Gurudev, Mahamanavar Sagar Tire, that you have to built up that ocean of humanity, the greater ocean of humanity. That is, that is one target that we have to achieve. The other one that I want a brief answer from all of you. The ecological binding force. Suppose Himalayas that decides the fates of Nepal and India. Of course, the whole South Asian region actually, or the ocean, Indian Ocean, that decides the fate of Sri Lanka and India. Monsoon. So Pathak Saab was talking about monsoon, how it is disturbed, and Amazon is creating the problem in Amazon is creating disturbance in Indian monsoon. So if monsoon is disturbed, the whole South Asian region will be disturbed. So can we, as writers, our ecological concern, because we write for humanity, we exist for humanity. So can the ecological concern become a rallying point in South Asian relationship? Very briefly, I want a response from all
Well,
of you.
well, I think there's always been a literature in relation to how we look at the topography and how we look into this varied monsoons and how they impact our national lives. Going back to the concept of the way we regard to our mountains and trees, the way we do, bhumi pujan, before we start to do anything good within the family and things like that. It's all the concept that's related to the sensitivities and the importance that we give to the nature. In fact, our relationship with the nature got disconnected over a period of time as and when we got step into the more into the modernity, right? So there's a whole lot of literature that was written in the past. I think there's been a book written by Amitabh Ghosh as well, who said and talked about this. And as and when we would be more and more challenged by the issues of climate change, and there's a lot of literature that will be written on it. I mean, we can imagine we are talking about a regional cultural space wherein every 4 miles you walk, you'll find a water that would have a different taste, right? So it's going to impact our life in one way or the other. That's definitely going to be there.
Okay. Dayaji,
So,
same question actually.
okay, like the concept of nation, I think we have to forget the term literature and go back to our ancient meaning of Sahitya. And Sahitya engulfs all this about our nature, about humanity, all that is covered in Sahitya, including the oral literature and folklore, and all that is included. And I have been promoting for about 10 years. Let us all try to go for Subhashita Sahitya, because that is where humanity and our environment and our world, we can all be served.
Again, I think we should, in terms of place and time, place comes and covers geographical time, development, human civilization, cultural development process. So in these two terms, if we could see, because we have, for our convenience, we have used all these different terms. You know, what's your name?
Kedar.
Kedar. How many Kedars are there? Look. Uh-huh. That means, it's just for, I mean, because you name is not name. Name will just, the given name will represent you later on. And you make the name meaningful with your actions, with your, human kind of activities. The best way in terms of literature and culture. Culture is very true, though the creator of culture is people living there in different part of our part of the world. There are some kind of similarity, commonality, some kind of distinct kind of things what we have with us, and we identified with those distinctness what we have with us, different part of the world, not only in South Asia. This is what I've experienced traveling across the globe and all the time discussing with specialists of culture and linguists and all this, political, all students and professors across the globe. So, but what I found more interesting is people, especially, one way and other, directly, emotionally connected to place and that time. And the time sometimes from past come to us to be present, and that will go ahead of us. Culture also, it's not only comes to us, but we create. We also aid something to our traditional culture, what we have or what has come to us, and it will go ahead of us. So, likewise, geographical barrier that used to be earlier more effective, more dominating, but now things have changed because of the whole communication system. Things have changed and we can really come in close contact and make others to understand what we really mean, even through stories, through poems, or through novels, or through dramas. Dramas are, this is what is, I think, in other words, the extension of people's identity or creative identity will be there in literature and even in culture. So that way, I think we have to conceptualize and make use of this concept and go ahead with sometimes the geography, sometimes even political boundaries, sometimes with the language, sometimes even because we have our ethnic background. There are something, close to us that you can't, because there are Nepalese there, a lot of Nepalese in the hillside, like in Darjeeling, like in Assam, like in, they speak Nepali. Yes. But what we, in the Nepali, what we speak, why we use in Nepal and right here, one way and other are a little bit different in terms of pronunciation, in terms of the giving meaning to single word. Single word gives different meaning in different places, in different contexts, in different situations. So we have to be rather a bit concerned and familiar with. So literature not supposed to be introduced with the help of the concept of political kind of, our establishments and tradition, what we have with us. So let's come with this change and let's be together with, and let culture and literature play creative role. And let us be prepared for that. And this kind of seminar, this kind of coming together with an exchange of ideas will help us to come more closer and understand each other and go ahead with.
What I could conclude actually, the people to people contact. That's the only way to create the. Yeah, please.
Now, I think people are supposed to be active. Only the government role or the government contact is not enough. When we come down to the people, so now how we people to people in terms of culture, in terms of literature, really do understand each other. That's the best way. And how we have to prepare some ground, give a space to culture and literature play this positive role in, to develop some kind of understanding between people to people relationship also. Oh, I had this kind of government and government. There's a formal I have been through. They have just formal kind of, conversation, and the real people, when they come up with, they'll really come down to reality, and we can go ahead with. And in that area, creative area, I think culture and literature will help a lot. And that understanding between two people of two countries is more meaningful than just formal, superficial kind of understanding what we have in the name of.
Yeah, that's a, I'm always hopeful that one day literature will erase all the borders. And I think for last so many centuries, every writer, every artist dreams that, but I don't know uh, how real, how truthful that dream is. But always we wish to have a uh, region or to have a landmass where at least there should be unity, there should be peace, there should be dialogue, there should be people to people contact, and we don't only share our creative inputs or literary inputs, but we also share our own misfortunes. We also share our own misfortunes. If I am happy, don't think that the other one is unhappy. We will die together. And if Himalaya is in trouble, then the whole region is in trouble. And if there is no Himalaya, there will be no literature, there will be no culture, there will be no Ganga, there will be no Yamuna, there will be no Mahanadi. So we have to share this together. And thank you very much. I was actually unprepared for this session because I was not supposed to be here. So thank you very much, Daya ji, Tulsi Saab, and Samir ji. So thank you very much.
एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच केदार, केदार जी आप यहाँ पर आके लास्ट मोमेंट में आपने इतना प्यारा सेशन कंडक्ट किया. सर हमारे पास इस वक्त टाइम नहीं है क्वेश्चंस लेने का. आप बाहर बात कर सकते हैं. I'm really sorry, sir. Please don't mind. We are really running short on time and we need to invite our next set of speakers. So, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so yes. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here from all the way from Nepal and Sri Lanka, for being here and sharing with us your insights on how South Asian literary heritage is connected through mythology. Now we'll move on to our next very interesting session, which might interest my Oriya friends quite a lot. We have a conversation. We have a conversation about movies. We have a conversation about Oriya movies, Oriya cinema, literature. And in this conversation, we'll have some of the biggest names that we know of in Oriya cinema. Anu Chaudhary ma'am, of course, she's been here for quite a while, and with her grace and beauty, she's been waiting for us with so much patience. Thanks to her for that, and we'll be inviting her on stage. With her, we'll have Siddhant Mahapatra ji. We had him here yesterday. He'll be arriving here in a while, and I'd request Itishri Nayak ma'am, eminent journalist, here to take things forward and continue the conversation. And while they arrive on stage, I'd request you all to again give a big round of applause. That is just a simple job you have as an audience. The only task. I mean, apart from listening, which I hope some of you are, I don't think a lot of you have been listening, but regardless, I would like to invite our speakers on stage, Anu ma'am, Siddhant sir, and Itishri ma'am, to please take the conversation forward, take this stage from me so that I can, finally be away from this horror of being here and looking at your faces, all staring at me, wondering what interesting is coming. They'll give you the interesting, material, and they'll give you the conversation. I am going to go off, and after this, we have the concluding session, and this is going to be an end to the Kalinga Literary Festival 2023. I think we had some cracker conversations for the 3 days, some very beautiful personalities with very beautiful and graceful thoughts who came here, who graced our stage. I think I am blessed to be here and be a part of this. And I hope you are too. And once again, a reminder, if you are posting anything on social media, you know what to do. You know what to do. You need to tag us, Kalinga Lit Fest on Twitter and on Instagram. Thank you so much. We'll have the stars on stage and we can all start glistening with their beauty now. Thank you. Again, can we have a big round of applause? It's just an applause. Louder, I can't hear. And some of you are not clapping. That it's not done. Come on. A bigger round of applause. Can I have a bigger round of applause, please? Thank you so much. Over to you, Itishri ma'am.